Welcome to Pink Blade.
Here, we don't just watch stories.
We step inside them.
Today, we're diving deep into Bridgerton Season 2, Episode 8.
The Viscount Who Loved Me. And that is a title that it carries so much weight. The weight of an entire season, really.
Oh, absolutely. It's the weight of a lifetime of trauma, especially for, our lead character, Anthony.
And honestly, if you thought the first 7 episodes were a roller coaster, this finale is where the track it falls away. We're in free fall, just pure emotional chaos.
And it's glorious.
It is glorious. We have so much to unpack today. I mean, we've got the fallout from a completely disastrous wedding, a coma, a ball that feels more like a battlefield.
And a breakup. A friendship breakup that I think hurts more than most of the romantic breakups you see on TV.
It really does.
It's an incredibly dense episode. What we're looking at here isn't just, the neat conclusion of a romance. It's about the entire restructuring of a society on a micro level.
Right.
And our sources for this are fantastic. We've got interviews with the cinematographers talking about these specific lenses they use to capture that intimacy. We have these deep psychological breakdowns of Anthony Bridgerton's so-called split personality.
And the music. We have to talk about the musical architecture of that final dance.
We do. So I think our mission today is to really understand how this one episode manages to resolve what felt like an impossible stalemate between, duty and desire.
Okay, so let's jump right into the deep end, the social architecture and the emotional stakes. We really have to set the stage. It's the morning after the storm, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
Kate has had her accident, she's unconscious, and both the Sharma and the Bridgerton families are in this just incredibly precarious position.
Precarious is putting it very, very mildly. To get the stakes of Episode 8, you have to rewind just a little to the context of Episodes 6 and 7.
The failed wedding.
The disastrous failed wedding. A wedding hosted by the Queen herself, which is just a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So the ton, high society, is in an absolute frenzy.
But the feeling at the start of this finale, it's not loud gossip, it's quiet.
And that quiet is so dangerous, it's a simmering quiet.
Exactly. Because the Sharmas are facing total, complete social ruin. They're literally packing their bags, resigned to going back to India in total disgrace.
And the Bridgertons aren't faring much better. They're being shunned publicly.
Which really introduces the true antagonist of this episode. And it's not a person, it's the ton itself. The social gaze, it's become predatory.
It really has. And usually you'd have Lady Whistledown, who we know as Penelope, sort of directing the narrative. She's the release valve for all this gossip.
But she's put down her pen, she's gone silent.
Which creates a vacuum.
A huge vacuum. And gossip hates a vacuum more than anything. So without Whistledown to sort of, set the record straight or at least focus the rumors.
The ton is just making up its own, even wilder stories. It creates this feeling of claustrophobia, like the walls are just closing in on everyone.
And that external claustrophobia is a perfect mirror for what is happening inside Anthony Bridgerton's head.
Yes, and we have some really fascinating analysis on his character here, specifically around this concept of the panopticon of duty.
Okay, hold on. Panopticon. That's a word I remember from, like, a sociology class or a documentary about prisons.
Whoa.
How are we getting from a Regency romance to a prison experiment?
It feels like a leap, doesn't it? But it fits so perfectly. The panopticon was a theoretical prison design from the late 1700s, so right around the time the show was set.
Okay.
And the idea was a circular prison with a watchtower in the middle. The guard in the tower can see every single inmate, but the inmates can never see the guard.
So you never know if you're actually being watched at any given moment.
Right.
Which means you have to act like you are being watched 24/7.
Exactly. You internalize the surveillance, you become your own guard. Now, think about Anthony Bridgerton.
He doesn't have a literal guard tower, but he has the ton.
He has the ton. And maybe even more powerfully, he has the ghost of his father. There's this great analysis of Jonathan Bailey's performance, how he's constantly checking his watch, adjusting his cuff, scanning the room.
He's always on patrol.
He is policing his own existence. He believes, truly, that one slip-up, one selfish moment will destroy his family's legacy.
Which ties directly back to his trauma, the bee sting. He watched his father die in an instant. So, in his mind, if he takes his eye off the ball for even a second,
the people he loves will die. It's not just social anxiety. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism for him. He has convinced himself that love is, quite literally, a death sentence.
And what's so fascinating about this episode is that his internal prison, it finally starts to crack.
It shatters.
Yeah.
And it cracks because the one person he's been trying so desperately to keep out, Kate, is suddenly the only thing he can see.
It's so ironic. He spent the entire season trying to be the perfect Viscount, the perfect inmate in this social prison. And the second he feels something real, the whole prison just riots.
Jonathan Bailey, the actor, he actually describes Anthony as having a split personality. There's the rigid Viscount, the man of duty, the man with the checklist.
And then there's the traumatized inner child who is terrified of love but also desperately wants it.
And this episode, episode 8, is the battleground. It's where those two selves collide. And he can't keep them separate any longer. The catalyst, Kate, is lying in a coma, and he feels it's his fault.
Which brings us to the other side of that mirror, to Kate Sharma.
Yes. If Anthony's in a prison of duty, Kate is trapped in her own prison of worthiness.
She is his perfect mirror, and you see it so clearly here. She has spent her entire life parentifying herself for Edwina. Her entire value in her own mind is tied to what she can do for her family.
It's completely transactional. Love is something she has to earn through sacrifice.
And the tragedy is, at the start of this episode, her grand plan has objectively, catastrophically failed. She tried to secure this perfect match for Edwina to save the family.
And instead, the wedding is ruined, her sister is furious with her, and they are social pariahs about to be shipped back to India.
So her self-worth is at absolute zero. She wakes up from a coma into this nightmare where she believes she is the villain of her own family story.
Which means the stakes for her aren't just will she get the guy.
No.
The real stake is, can Kate Sharma accept that she just deserves to be happy? Yeah. Can she accept a love that isn't transactional, that isn't earned?
That sets the stage for a finale that's not just about romance, it's about really psychological liberation for both of them.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the next big question. Why is this episode such a turning point? Structurally, it just works so well. For 7 episodes, they've been in this stalemate.
This dance of I want you, but I can't have you, and duty has always been the wall between them.
And the horse riding accident is the wrecking ball that smashes right through that wall.
It is.
But let me ask you this. Isn't the whole lover falls into a coma thing a little bit of a, a soap opera trope? Does it feel earned here?
It is a trope, 100%. But in this specific story, it's the necessary narrative device. You have to understand that Anthony's rigidity, that fear of mortality we just talked about,
right,
it couldn't be broken down by logic or by lust or by arguments. It could only be shattered by the raw, terrifying realization of potential loss.
It's the ultimate reality check. When she's lying there unconscious, all the bickering, the you vex me, the arguments about dowries, none of it matters anymore.
The coma is a hard reset button on their enemies to lovers dynamic. It strips away all the banter and the defenses.
Because when you're terrified the person you love might die, you just don't have the energy to pretend you hate them.
All that's left is raw fear and longing.
So it's the moment the slow burn finally becomes an inferno. The excuses are still there, Edwina's feelings, the reputation, the scandal, but they just don't have the power to stop the momentum anymore.
Precisely. And that's the hook of this episode. It's a shift in genre. We go from a courtship drama, where the question is who will marry whom,
to a romance against the world. It's not about if they'll get together anymore. As an audience, we know they have to. The question now is how.
How can they possibly survive the social fallout of choosing each other?
And to survive that, they have to face the ton together. Which leads us to, I think, the absolute centerpiece of this entire episode. We have to talk about the dance.
The wrecking ball dance.
Yes.
This is the moment everything pivots.
So let's set the scene. It's the Featherington Ball. The atmosphere is awful.
It's ice cold.
Everyone hates the Bridgertons. Everyone hates the Sharmas. It's like a high school cafeteria where the most popular kids have suddenly become lepers overnight.
It's social death. The cut direct is in full effect, which, for anyone listening, is the Regency equivalent of being blocked and unfollowed on every social media platform at once.
People are literally turning their backs as they walk by.
It's so aggressive.
It's aggressive silence.
And in the middle of this freezing cold, Anthony does something revolutionary. He walks over to Kate. And he doesn't ask her to dance to save face or as some strategic move. No, he asks her because he just wants to. And he calls her Kate.
He does. He says Hyacinth. Then he turns and he looks right at her and says, Kate. That use of her first name in public?
It is seismic for this time period. It's an act of intimacy that is louder than a public declaration.
Well, let's talk about the sensory experience here, because the music, I have to ask, did you laugh? because when I heard the first few notes of a Miley Cyrus cover,
I almost lost it. I did. It's such a bold, anachronistic choice. Wrecking Ball by Midnight String Quartet.
but once you get over that initial shock of, wait, is that Miley Cyrus? It might be the single best musical choice in the entire series.
It's incredibly astute, because on the surface, it's just a beautiful, sweeping melody. But for a modern audience, those lyrics are playing in our heads. I came in like a wrecking ball, I never hit so hard in love.
And it's their entire story. They didn't fall gracefully in love. They wrecked each other's lives. They wrecked the wedding. They wrecked their family's plans. They had to demolish everything they'd built around themselves to find the truth.
Justin Camps, the music supervisor for the show, he noted that this song was chosen to provide a freeing moment. It's the climax of all that tension.
Yeah.
And think about the other lyrics. All I wanted was to break your walls.
And that's exactly what they did to each other. Anthony's walls of duty, Kate's walls of self-denial, they are just rubble on that dance floor.
I want to geek out on the visuals here for a second, though, because the cinematography is doing something technically brilliant, the way the rest of the world just vanishes.
Yes. How do they do that?
So the cinematographer, Philip Blaubach, talked about this. They used a very specific lighting rig called a Hudson Spider LED, and they put a skirt on it.
A Hudson Spider with a skirt.
I know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's this huge, multi-armed light fixture. The skirt is basically black fabric that hangs down and controls the light so it doesn't spill everywhere. It creates a very tight, soft pool of light that can follow the actors.
So it's not just a digital effect they add later. They're doing it live on set.
It's practical lighting. As the dance goes on, they physically dimmed all the background lights in the ballroom while keeping that Hudson Spider focused just on Anthony and Kate.
That's incredible. It's visual storytelling. It literally shows us that the ton, the antagonist we were talking about, has ceased to exist for them. The lighting just erases everyone else.
For those 3 minutes, their social prison is gone. There's only the two of them.
And we have to mention the acting in that bubble, the micro expressions. There's a reason fans dissect this scene frame by frame.
Oh, absolutely. The work Jonathan Bailey and Simone Ashley do with just their eyes is astounding. There's this one moment, it's right around the bridge of the song, where he looks at her and his whole face just crumbles. It's total surrender.
It's the moment the Viscount identity finally dies and Anthony is allowed to live.
But they can't stay in that bubble forever. They need an exit strategy from this social minefield. And it comes from the most powerful person in the room.
The Queen.
The Queen's intervention is a bit of a deus ex machina, but it works because it feels earned by her character. She watches them. She sees the undeniable chemistry. And let's be honest, the Queen is bored. She wants a real love match.
She wants to be entertained. And she sees the real story, so she decides to rewrite history right there on the spot. She calls the failed wedding a misunderstanding.
And then casually mentions she might consider Edwina for her nephew, the prince. It's a power move.
It completely saves them from ruin. It's the external validation they needed to allow their internal romance to breathe. She essentially gives the ton an order. Accept this.
It clears the path for their happiness. But while this main romance is finally getting its resolution, we have to deal with the absolute car crash happening upstairs.
Oh, the secondary love story of the show, the friendship between Eloise and Penelope, and it is just falling apart.
It's the perfect antithesis to the romance we just watched. While Anthony and Kate are coming together in this blaze of glory, Eloise and Penelope are imploding. And that friendship is just as central to the show's DNA.
It is utterly heartbreaking. Eloise finally puts all the pieces together. She finds the stash of money and the printing drafts under Penelope's floorboards.
The discovery is just so brutal because of what it implies. Eloise realizes she's been a puppet all season. She's been chasing Whistledown, admiring her, obsessing over her.
And to find out it was her best friend who sat right there listening to all her theories, lying to her face day after day.
The acting. Nicola Coughlan and Claudia Jessie in that scene, we just give them all the awards. It is so raw.
It's described in interviews as brutal and devastating, and that's not an exaggeration. When Penelope tries to defend herself, when she says, "I did it to save you."
Referring to the column she wrote about Eloise to throw the Queen off the scent.
Right, but it just falls completely on deaf ears. Because the trust is gone. You can't claim you saved someone by publicly humiliating them and destroying their reputation.
There's a great visual metaphor in that scene, too. Eloise is physically tearing the room apart, ripping up the floorboards, throwing papers. It's a mirror for the destruction of their shared history, of their trust.
It provides such a bitter and necessary counterweight to the sweetness of the Canthony resolution. It's a reminder that secrets have consequences. You can't always have it all.
Exactly. The season gives us one happy ending, a romantic resolution, but it leaves us with this deep platonic tragedy.
But let's swing back to that romance because we need to talk about the fireworks. We have to talk about the actual proposal.
The garden proposal. Now, there's that line that everyone knows that became iconic. You are the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires.
A top-tier romance line. But that was actually from an earlier episode, right?
Correct. That line was the buildup. It was spoken in a moment of anger and frustration. But the sentiment of it, that's what culminates here in the garden.
He's not agitated anymore. He's not frustrated.
He's humble. He's vulnerable. He admits he's imperfect. And he stops talking about duty and starts talking about finding a life that suits us both.
That's the key phrase, isn't it? Suits us both. All season, they've been trying to force themselves into lives that suited their families or suited the tongue.
And here, Anthony is finally proposing a life that is designed specifically for them. He's asking her to choose herself and to choose him together.
And then we get the kiss and the fireworks.
Literal fireworks.
It could have been so cheesy, but somehow it just works.
It works because, as Jonathan Bailey described it, their chemistry is explosive. So the fireworks feel earned. It's a visual symphony. But I want to fast forward just a little to the epilogue, to a tiny moment that fans go absolutely crazy for.
Oh, the three fingers moment.
Yes, in the bedroom. This is post-marriage. After the time jump, they're at Aubrey Hall.
And Anthony holds up three fingers and asks her, how many fingers am I holding up?
It's a direct callback to when he was checking her for a concussion right after her accident. But here, it's not medical. It's playful. It's intimate. It's a private joke.
It shows their comfort with each other. All season they were so rigid, standing so far apart, barely touching, and now they're tangled up in bed, laughing. It's such a beautiful contrast.
It shows us they didn't just survive this scandal. They thrived. They found real joy.
I love that. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain a bit. How did they actually craft this finale visually? We talked about the lighting, but there's more to the camera work, right?
Yes. The idea of the female gaze is central to Bridgerton's whole identity. But in this episode, the cinematographers, Jeffrey Jur and Philip Blaubach, they used a technique they called the hot cam.
A hot cam, is that what it sounds like?
Not quite. It involves using tilt-shift lenses. And what these lenses let you do is have a very, very specific narrow plane of focus.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means they could put the camera very close to an actor and have, say, only their eyes in sharp focus, while their ears, their neck, the background, all of it falls away into this soft, dreamlike blur.
So it's mimicking the actual feeling of falling in love, like when you're just
Right.
staring at someone and the rest of the world literally goes fuzzy.
That's exactly it. It creates what they call a swoony quality. It forces you, the viewer, to lock eyes with the characters. It creates this intense intimacy that you can't get with a normal shot.
That is so cool. And then there are the costumes. The color story in this episode is just, it's top-tier storytelling.
Ellen Mirajnik and Sophie Canali, the designers, tell a whole narrative through fabric and color. You just have to look at Kate's transformation.
She starts the season in those heavy, rigid fabrics, the dark teals. It looks like armor.
Because she's at war. She's on a mission protecting her family. But by this episode, and especially in the epilogue, look at the shift. The fabrics are lighter, they're softer, they move with her.
And the colors. She starts wearing these shades that blend her Indian heritage, the jewel tones, the spice colors, with the signature Bridgerton blue.
It's a perfect symbol of her integration into the family without losing her own identity. She's not becoming a Bridgerton clone. She's bringing her own vibrancy into their world and changing them for the better.
And you can contrast that directly with the Featheringtons. Their colors are described as acid citrus, those bright, almost sour yellows and greens.
It's so deliberate. It's meant to be jarring against the pastels of the established ton. It visually marks them as new money, as people who are trying way too hard.
It screams desperation, which is perfect for Portia's Ruby Mine scam plotline.
Exactly. And we can't forget the choreography. Jack Murphy, the choreographer, has said he treated every single dance as a conversation.
Because for most of the season, they couldn't speak their real feelings out loud.
So the physical push and pull on the dance floor was the script. In that wrecking ball dance, every hand placement, every turn away and back, it's a line of dialogue. It's I love you, it's I'm staying, it's I choose you.
It's brilliant. So let's hear from the people who actually lived it. What have the actors said about this finale?
Jonathan Bailey had some really profound insights on Anthony's journey. He views that final shot of the season, the Pall Mall game in the epilogue, as the very first time Anthony is truly happy.
The first time in his entire life since his father died. That's huge.
He says Anthony's entire arc was about healing trauma through love. It wasn't just about getting the girl. It was about fixing the broken parts of his soul that had convinced him he was doomed to be miserable.
And what about Simone Ashley? About Kate?
She talks a lot about how Kate is often misunderstood as just being stubborn or difficult, and how this episode is the moment that finally reveals her soft heart. She also described her on-screen chemistry with Bailey as effortless.
Which I think we could all agree it absolutely was.
One thing that did cause a bit of a stir with audiences was the lack of a wedding scene. We got the failed wedding with Edwina, but we never got to see Kate and Anthony actually say, "I do."
Right, the show just jumps forward in time.
And Shondaland and the showrunner Chris Van Dusen said that was a very specific narrative choice. They wanted to focus on the happily ever after, the reality of them being a married couple rather than the ceremony itself.
They felt like we'd already had the pomp and circumstance of a wedding, so they jumped right to the joy of the Pall Mall game to show us that the marriage worked.
It's a valid choice, but it does lead us right into the fan reactions. Because not everyone was happy with that decision.
No, the fans definitely had thoughts. Let's start with the positive, though, the Canthony chemistry.
Oh, that was universal acclaim. The consensus online is that Bailey and Ashley's chemistry just carried the entire season on its back.
People are still dissecting the micro-expressions, the eye acting from the wrecking ball dance. You can find frame-by-frame analysis on TikTok and Reddit.
But there were complaints. And a big one was about the Featheringtons.
Yes, the Featherington plot complaint. A lot of fans felt that the whole Cousin Jack and the fake Ruby mine plot took up way too much screen time.
Precious screen time that, in their view, could have been used for more happy Canthony moments or even, that missing wedding scene.
Right. They just wanted more of the main couple being happy and in love, and they didn't care as much about Cousin Jack's scam.
It's always a balancing act in an ensemble show like this, but when the chemistry of your leads is that electric, the frustration is understandable.
And then there's the setup for Poland. For fans of the books, that last scene with Colin was a huge moment.
The huge, heartbreaking moment. Fans immediately notice that specific interaction where Colin is with his friends and says he would never dream of courting Penelope Featherington.
And Penelope overhears him. Ouch, it's just brutal.
It's a crucial setup for their story. It's a moment taken directly from the books, though they shifted it in the timeline. It plants the seed of conflict and heartbreak that will drive their future growth.
So we've broken down the scenes, the tech, the acting, the fan reactions. But what does it all mean? What is the big thematic takeaway from this finale?
I think the central question the episode poses and answers is this: can love exist without the sacrifice of self?
Because for the entire season, both Anthony and Kate believed the answer to that was no. They thought that to love their families, to do their duty, they had to destroy their own desires.
Exactly. They saw duty and selfhood as mutually exclusive. You had to pick one. This episode completely challenges that. It proposes the idea that maybe, just maybe, the highest form of duty is actually being true to yourself.
Because when they were being miserable and self-sacrificing, they weren't actually helping anyone. Anthony was a tense, anxious Viscount. Kate was making Edwina miserable by trying to control her life.
Precisely. And the finale suggests that by finally honoring their own needs, by choosing each other, they actually become better leaders of their families. Anthony becomes a happier, more present brother. Kate becomes a sister who can support Edwina as an equal.
So they don't choose love over duty. They redefine what duty means through love.
That's the beautiful synthesis of it all. They realize you cannot pour from an empty cup. And by finally allowing themselves to fill their own cups with love, they have so much more to give to everyone else.
And that feels like a lesson we can all take away, whether we're a Viscount in Regency London or just trying to navigate our own lives today. Well, we have certainly unpacked the drama, the romance, and the sheer cinematic beauty of The Viscount Who Loved Me.
It's an episode that really proves that sometimes you have to wreck everything to build something real and lasting.
And that true love is always worth the scandal.
Thanks for listening to Pink Blade.
If this episode revealed something new, you can follow to explore the next chapter.
And if a moment stayed with you, share it in the comments.
Until next time.
This is Pink Blade.